Hello, as you probably know, my name is Erling. I'm going to have my FOA. I'm about analysis of articles about Brexit. And for this FOA, I've chosen mainly 3 articles that I've printed out and gone through, looking at how the mass media, newspapers, use language to inform, persuade, or entertain. And then I'm also looking a little bit about how audience and purpose affect the structure and content of texts. And then I have used some paper printouts of newspapers from the same day to look at this, because the structure is very much lost usually when you go online, so that's why I've chosen the print editions. So first of all, I'm going to look a little bit about the structure of this article, which is from The Times. And they have, I don't know if you can see this, but they have in the middle, they have a poll. This is from the day of the vote, or the referendum of if Britain should leave the EU. And they have a poll that says that 51% of people want to remain, and 49% of people want to leave. However, if you read further in the article, you can see that this is just one of 3 polls conducted on that day. The other 2 has the favor leave. So that looks. So then we can look at the question like how does purpose influence the structure of the texts? And newspaper articles are often written like that was dark. Okay, like an inverse triangle where you have the most important information at the top, and then less and less and less and less important information further down. This is because people will usually start reading 1, 2, 3 paragraphs and then stop, so that whenever people stop, they will get the most important information, and they don't have to look through long articles to get it. However, when you put the poll, the one poll that shows that's different from the 2 others at the top, this affects how people might perceive it, because like, if you put all 3 polls beside each other with the same importance, then people would see that actually there's more in favor of leave, but as the newspaper probably have an agenda and want us to vote remain, they put the one remain vote at the top. And well, this is problematic. As I said, many people don't read the whole article. They read only the top. They read the beginning. Some people don't even read it at all. They just look at the graphs. They look at the pictures. They go through the store and they see a newspaper in the shelf, and they look at the first page and boom, remain 51%, when that is actually not the case. However, the structure, it's not, as you probably can see, this is not a tabloid structure. They don't have a huge front page with blown up types. So that might go in the other direction, but still, they have an agenda, and this agenda, when you look through it, it becomes clear. And the second interesting thing about unbiased information is how language is used to inform. And here I have 2 quotes from the Times and the Sun about the exact same thing. It's a campaign that Boris Johnson conducted right before the election, and here you can see the Times describes this as an insurgent leave campaign, while the Sun describes this as a whirlwind campaign. And well, I would say that insurgent to me is a much more negative word, and then when I actually looked it up, it is a person who rises in forcible opposition to lawful authority. So it's very much a negative word, while whirlwind on the other hand is for me at least, is a positively charged word, because then you have a lot of energy and you're going through this and you're winning in the end, because whirlwinds usually win in the end. And although the difference is very small, just one word, this can actually affect quite a lot of people, just subconsciously thinking in their minds. And while we're on it, this is not the topic of my FOA, but can information actually be 100% unbiased? I don't think so. You always will have some figurative language, some imagery in the text that does not make it 100% unbiased. And of course, since this is trying to persuade you in a less subtle way. However, these three are very clear in their persuasive language, and I've been looking a little bit at many things. The first one are some allusions. First, they start in the article that's pro-EU. They start about, imagine there's no EU. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to bitch and moan about. And no David Cameron too. Yeah, right. Which, yeah, of course, allusion to Beatles. And this gives you some, at least me, I automatically started singing the song when I read the two sentences. So that gives me some images in my head. And then the yeah, right at the end, of course, destroys it completely. And further, you have a Bullingdon Club brawl, which is a Bullingdon Club pub brawl, which is a mouthful to say, but this also is an allusion to, well, a pub brawl is something like this. It's quite messy, and they use this to describe a debate, so it's not an allusion in that sense. But the Bullingdon Club, I don't know, probably you're not familiar with this. I had to look it up. It is a club for Oxford students who are very rich and very wealthy, and they're known to destroy a lot of things. And all the leading politicians have been in this. That's why I would call it an allusion. They allude to something outside. And then another allusion from another paper. I don't remember exactly which one of them. It's the Sun. They call this day the Independence Day, which of course alludes to the American Independence Day. And they want a similar thing. And then you have some personification. For example, the EU is personified. It's looking at you, specifically in this one, in the Mirror article. And then they also give human qualities to the cross that you're going to put on the ballot. You're going to put a brave cross. Further, there are a lot of antitheses where you put one phrase and then you put the exact opposite phrase. So, for example, they say that after Brexit, the Queen has a job, you don't. Or you have the choice between hope and fear. You put two opposing phrases next to each other. And also, the Sun writes that a leap into the dark versus a stride into the light. And this, I mean, hyperboles are used everywhere, and especially in this where they try very, very, very hard to persuade you and to make you do a thing. For example, they describe Britain's armed forces as two men with a tank, two rusty tanks, three soldiers approaching retirement, and a deflated dinghy. And then they also talk about foreigners on benefits who will eventually blow up this country, which of course isn't true, but it's made a lot bigger than it actually is, because it might be, parts of it might be true. Further, you have, well, metaphors, and then also you have an allusion. You know, you allude to something that has happened before. They say that you should let the lion roar again. And the lion roaring is from the First World War, when they used these posters to get people to fight for them. And that you will just be left with the crumbs of Angela Merkel when we're out of the EU. They make puns like believing, very funny indeed. And they use metonymies. And this is interesting because when you think about Downing Street, obviously they refer to the Prime Minister. However, Downing Street refers to the whole house. and gives you an idea that actually the whole government is against Brexit, while that is actually not the case. And I think my time is up now. It's been 10 minutes. Thank you for your attention. And here are the resources, I guess.
Thank you. The question, the lion, is it maybe symbolic somehow?
Yeah,
is
it
it
could be that
symbol
too.
of something?
Symbol of the British Empire. It could also be.
Can I say something? It's almost irrelevant. Can you just the next time use another font color? Because it's kind of difficult to distinguish what's written.
Yeah.
The blue font with red. Like,
Oh yeah, I'll do that. I didn't. It looked good at my screen at home. I had no problem seeing it, so I was a little surprised.
So that's why it's good to have it like in class and in real life situation, in practice, and then you see, okay, yes, next time maybe like do that way, because I have the same like notice. Yeah. Okay. But questions about the contents or comments?
I think so. It was quite informative, very nice. He was talking really clear. Yeah, it was good. I didn't see
Good
any,
example, yeah.
I didn't see any.
Okay.
You talked about persuasive language and then you also describe the major literary devices that were used in
Yes.
these business. So, what are the literary devices? How are they helping, or how are they persuading the readers to do something? And what kind of thing are the readers actually trying to do?
Like,
You didn't really elaborate on the thing. Yes, they're persuading them to do a thing.
yes, it's like, for example, the imagery or metaphors. They're made to create a feeling, a mood in the reader. That's like the reader like you get the reader to think of the great British Empire, and then you want them to go out and vote to leave the EU and restore this great British Empire. That's what you're trying to persuade them to do. Okay.
More questions? Okay, so which was like pro-Brexit and which article was like against?
And the Mirror was pro-Brexit, and the other two were against Brexit.
What do you think about Brexit?
Who, me? Stupid.
Same.
No, I think that when they're I don't like the EU, and I don't think, but when they're first in the EU, just stay in the EU.
Yeah.
Don't.
Do you think they'll have negative effects after leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could it be?
I mean, you've seen the pound drop. You've seen, I think, immigration. I mean, I don't think anything will change really. That's the problem. Like they want huge change, and I don't think anything will actually
But
change.
first and foremost is economic
Yeah.
reasons, yeah. And most probably won't be very good. But who knows?
Yeah.
We are not prophets, you know? Yes?
Do you remember the Scottish referendum in 2014 or 12? Like the major reason they decided to stay with the Union is because they were part of the EU and had to give them some benefits. But now they're not part of the EU, they might have more incentive to leave the United Kingdom. Become
Yeah,
more
it might be coming back.
Yeah.
The same discussion.
Yeah.
It might be true. And then just collapsing. We will see. Interesting times we're living in, really. Very interesting times.